totally went. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Carl over here, the skeleton. He's going to be supervising today. So come on over here. We have our rabbit here, and today we're going to be getting into the thoracic cavity to look at the respiratory and cardiovascular structures. So first, let me show you how I got into the thoracic cavity. I began at the inferior end, and we cut up along the rib cage to one side of the sternum. You're also going to make lateral cuts up at the superior side in both directions, and then also at the inferior end of the thoracic cavity, make lateral cuts as well. Now at this point, you should be able to pull apart the rib cage to get inside. When you open this, you're going to probably be cracking some ribs and hearing some breaking. That's okay. This rabbit's already dead. But you're going to really want to pull away that rib cage so that you can get in and see the organs of the thoracic cavity. Another cut you're going to have to make is moving up superior from the thoracic cavity in order to get into the larynx and the trachea. So this was a pretty meaty and juicy rabbit, and I had to really get in there with the scissors, but I cut all along here so that I could finally peel apart and get into those respiratory structures. Okay, so the respiratory structures for you guys to identify. Let's begin from superior and move inferiorly. Up at the top here, we have the larynx. That's the voice box, of course. And you can really feel that thyroid cartilage right there of the larynx. As we move inferiorly, this is actually the thyroid gland, not a respiratory structure, an endocrine structure, but still, that's where it is. And then we get into the trachea. So here we have the trachea with these C rings of cartilage. And now as we move down, this thing right here, this gland, is actually the thymus. Not so prevalent on older adults, but on this particular young rabbit, he had quite the thymus there. And now the lungs. So we can see the lobes of the lungs. Here's the right side, the right lung and the left lung, and we can separate it out and find the different lobes of the lungs. If we peel up the lungs a little bit now, we can see this muscle right here, which is, of course, the diaphragm, helping with inspiration and expiration. So those are the respiratory structures on your list. Let's move to some of the different cardiovascular structures I want you to identify now. Of course, let's pull apart the thymus a little bit here and look at the heart. So one thing I want you guys to notice are the auricles. Remember, those are the external flaps of the heart. The external flaps of the atria of the heart. So here we have the right auricle, and here we have the left auricle. Notice the coloration difference. This is a much darker color. This is a much brighter red color because of all that oxygenated blood that's coming back from the lungs into the left atrium. Another structure that you can find, if you pull up the heart a little bit, you might notice this large blue blood vessel here, which is the inferior vena cava, bringing all that oxygen-poor blood back into the right atrium of the heart. And you might also be able to identify, if you find this little flap of connective tissue, this is the pericardium. That's that sac around the heart that helps to anchor it and also helps to reduce friction so the heart can beat around without rubbing and damaging tissue.